Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you are having an amazing day. Happy Saturday to you and your family. We're going to take a look here, of course, at XRP, help you understand best practice and big picture, and obviously challenge ourselves as well for a left-handed analysis. Not everyone can do this. Apparently, I'm quite mediocre at it. So anyways, if you're curious, I just got into a couple of pit bulls bum rushed me, and my dog, unfortunately, I'm left without a right hand for some time. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can do to help you understand what's going to happen next. This is a request actually from one of my community members, Zach. Thank you so much for the request. And I greatly appreciate you using Bitget as well as your primary exchange. And just to touch on that too, if you guys are new to the channel, you got to register with Bitget. It's the best exchange I've ever used. Fast liquidity, extremely quick level 2 data. You can get in and out of your trades with very little slippage. Honestly, there's really low fees. If you use this link in the description below before November 30th, you'll benefit from transfer funds. You just got to transfer funds over there and effectively be able to get this bonus by trading. Okay. Simply put, you trade with volume, you get the bonus. It's a really awesome experience there. So check that out. And of course, if you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is the website. Link in the description below. Trading University, Academy, and Signal Group. I recommend registering sooner than later though, because first the year we're slated to increase the rates just based on the competition. Apparently I'm charging too little for what I'm offering. So regardless of that fact, you can grandfather yourself in, so to speak, by registering before year end. So here's the thing with XRP. What we want to look at is, well, a couple of factors. I drew this new trend line up here. It's basically not a new trend line. It's essentially an old trend line. And I'm sorry, you got to deal with me here being left-handed, but if you see last summer when we had the initial lows from Bitcoin trending right around 29,000-30,000, XRP was jumping down to about 51, 52 cents. That was its lowest point, hit that. So if we kind of take that into consideration, we're pretty much testing that exact level here today. And as you can see, the price already reached out and got rejected at that level as well. Okay, so again, not saying that's a definitive line in the sand and the price is going to come down because of it, but it's something we got to recognize that we might be range bound between 50.8 cents and 52, and then of course likely breakout to the upside. But the thing, and the reason why I feel like an upside breakout would be more so potential, is first of all, it's common for prices to retest previous levels. So with this coming up here with this attempt, there's a good chance we'll see that happen. There's also a good chance we'll see a cup and handle pattern form that will continue to honor this ascending trend. So those are things that we kind of got to look at here and just kind of pay attention to. Smaller time frames will help us look at that better, but that's just generally what I kind of see here on the outside looking in. We can also recognize that 0.786 on Fibonacci, a very common retracement area, rejected initially. It wicked all the way up to, of course, the 1, which is roughly, 56 cents is a round estimate. And then it came down, of course, to lose this support level. It's 0.786, but it's commonly a resistance. So the fact that it was a resistance initially, retested again, and then broken the third attempt here yesterday is a positive sign to allow for that to most likely become a new support level. All right, again, no guarantees, of course, in anything, right? It's just a statistical probability that it's going to happen. It's higher than it would, it's not, right? That's what we kind of got to look at with TA, okay? There's never 100% certainty. So that being said, that's kind of a good sign, and smaller time frames will help us see that better. But that's a good sign. We also can see that 70 on the RSI is getting a potential rejection point. Okay, that's synonymous with 52 cents, which is a previous resistance level as well. So I'd expect some resiliency here. Don't expect the price to just break through in the near future, but there is potential as well, because it does seem that there's a slightly inverse pairing. When Bitcoin does poorly, XRP does well. All right, and again, we'll see if we can identify that. In fact, let me get this little guy pulled up here, get it ready to go, and I'll show you on smaller time frames what I mean by that too. And if we look at, of course, the MACD, it's still converging upwards, and these oscillators are increasing. So hypothetically, the price should continue to increase as well. But once again, you never take a trade based on MACD alone. It's not even specifically not on the daily. I would say the 4 hours you have the best chance of having more success with the MACD, but regardless, that's essentially what we're looking at there. So mostly positive. Let's check our moving averages and see we're above the 200, which is great. We're still holding above that. The 20, look at this, big surprise. 20-day set moving average averaging itself out with the ascending trend. It's a very common trend setter. So always pay attention to the 20 and see what it's doing. It'll most likely continue to work as a support until it doesn't. And that's the funny thing about trend lines too. You continue to retest them multiple times, the more likely they are to break. It's the same as support and resistance levels. But when it comes to trend lines, they're a little less resilient as essentially just major key level supports and resistances. And what I mean by that is, if you retest trend lines 2, 3, maybe 4 times, you can expect it to break soon. Where a traditional, resistance or support level, you can go, 10, 15 retries and it finally breaks. So different philosophy, but generally speaking, that concept is the same. And what it just implies is that, what goes up must come down, right? So you cannot expect XRP to continue to increase parabolically forever. It's not parabolic now, don't get me wrong, but you just can't expect that. Suffice to say, we got some positive stuff here on the daily. 4 hour, what we wanted to look at here is what I wanted to kind of point out earlier. Take a look at these candles here. Let's go ahead and turn this off so you can see it better. And see if there's a correlation. Can you see a connection between XRP and Bitcoin? It's pretty stark reality, right? That 4 hour drop, XRP increased at that same exact time. And what that basically just implies, that implies there's a lot of strength in XRP, but it also tells you the whales are selling their Bitcoin for XRP. And that's a positive sign in a lot of cases, but you got to keep in mind there could be an inverse also issue there, whereas XRP may sell off if Bitcoin starts to increase over the next couple of days. My speculation is Bitcoin's at its tentative bottom in this ascending little trend that it has over the past couple of weeks. 19,400 should be roughly the lowest point we're going to see. But again, weekends are funky. We can't trust the weekends. So in that regard, what we're seeing here so far is quite a handful of doji candles, which is never truly amazing. I mean, you look at this here in the past, that was not very pretty. You don't like to see that many dojis in a row. But hey, it happens, okay? And regardless of that fact, what we want to look at is a few other factors and not just focus on one time frame, right? So looking at the 4 hour, we can see RSI is essentially overextended. It tells us in the last 14 candlesticks, we've hit a rejection point, essentially, or a point in which it doesn't want to go any further. Coincidentally, right there at 52 cents, but also consolidating above this previous resistance level, okay? There we go, potential support level, right? 50.8 cents is a potential support, so the price comes back down. Wouldn't be a terrible idea to consider adding to your long position. Again, depending on your overall position size and what you're planning to do, every situation is different, but that's kind of how it works. All right, so that's kind of the general sense there in the RSI. MACD is starting to work its way back down, so you got to keep this in mind. We are losing this bullish momentum. So that does tell us that we might see a potential shift in direction in the next 24 to 48 hours based on the fact that the MACD is starting to slow down. And it's no longer converging, it's, so to speak, diverging on its way down. And if it continues, then we're going to have that interesting scenario where you have a faster moving average intersecting with a slower moving average, and it essentially causes a quote-unquote death cross. That's basically what the MACD is doing. It's just two moving averages intersecting at specific times, causing this momentous push. We're not there yet, don't get me wrong. It's perfectly fine here. In fact, this is a nice pennant type of pattern. These usually break to the upside. So in that regard, you got to kind of recognize that there's still mostly positive on the daily, but the 4 hour is not only overextended, but losing its momentum. Okay. And then, of course, moving averages, you can kind of see that we're above all three. That's still very positive. So I would just summarize the 4 hours fairly neutral, but also we got to respect the fact that it's getting a bit on the overextended side. But hey, here's the cool thing. It's already consolidating very healthy in the last 24 hours. So there's a good amount of consolidation in a short amount of time. That's fantastic. And that does allow for a continuation here, essentially, or another leg up. Because you see what happened here. Same exact scenario. It could just kind of consolidated for a while, retested a support level, and then bounced when Bitcoin dumped. Okay, again, Bitcoin dominance decreases, altcoin dominance increases. Which altcoins absorb that dominance? The most popular ones that are trending, as well as the fact that they have a solid continuation here and really good stats. In other words, good analysis, good TA essentially. XRP looks strong. There's no doubt about it. And I would venture to guess we're more likely to see an increase than a decrease in the overall sense of things. So let's take a look at the T sequential and kind of see what's up here. First of all, T sequential is basically telling us we hit an 8 and we didn't get overexhausted, which is great. We probably went well outside of some standard deviation lines, which we did, but they wicked back down. So for lack of better terms here, the hourly looks pretty healthy in that sense. It's had time to kind of relax and contract, and that's a positive sign. And in that regard, I wouldn't expect the price to just dump. It might be a slow bleed if it were to continue lower. But on the same accord, we're still making higher lows, And that's something we want to kind of recognize. Okay, it's not definitive. It's not like a amazing quality, but hypothetically, this if we make a higher high, then we're going to just use 52 cents as a support and break on out to the upside. So again, those are little positive things that I like to kind of highlight so you understand. Ichimoku Cloud, once again, this is a conservative indicator, and I can tell you that generally speaking, based on its default stats, it's going to give you some, and again, not perfect, but some false positives. And what I mean by that is just that, with this lagging span coming soon to intersect with the price action, hypothetically, that would be a situation in which you want to close your position. Or, more importantly, average your position either up or down, or trim it up or down based on the fact that you're just taking some profits. I always love to take profits. I like to recommend my community members do the same thing just to be on the safe side, because if you're not taking profits, you're not going to be able to really survive most markets. Greedy hands are the devil's playground. I forget, there's some kind of analogy in there somewhere, but I can tell you that you don't want to get greedy in this market. So hypothetically, taking some profits now wouldn't be terrible. But again, it's telling us soon that we might want to consider doing that. Conversion line is above the baseline, so it tells us we have good momentum to the upside, and we're still above the cloud. And as you can see, this is a very common occurrence. The cloud is averaging itself out right at this support level here, 0.786 on Fibonacci, 50.8 cents, as well as this up here as well at 52 cents, or almost just say 51 rather. So again, the price comes back down, hypothetically, we should see a bounce off that support level of the upper and lower lead. That's the consensus, all right? So if we were to take everything we've learned here so far, minus the fact that the 4-hour is kind of losing its momentum, which is actually positive, it's kind of resetting itself, being overextended close to 70 in the RSI, everything else is contributing positively. Okay, so again, to me, if I were a gambling type, which I'm not, half the reason why I'm fairly successful when trading is the fact that we should see the price go up. All right, the likelihood is there, but you do also need to recognize we're 6 days into this uptrend, and that's absolutely something we got to kind of pay attention to as well, and make sure that we know it could very well turn itself around. What I'd love to see is consolidation at this level here at 50.8 cents, somewhere between 50 and 52, and then of course leg up from there after we've had a good 24 to 48 hours of sideways action. What I hope we don't see is that Bitcoin does well and then XRP sells off. Because the reason why that happens, keep this in mind, is when Bitcoin's coming up, a lot of folks will sell their altcoins and put it into Bitcoin. It's kind of this cycle that goes on between one or the other. And a lot of it has to do with Bitcoin dominance. So again, this is one of those things you really kind of try to want to pay attention to, because as one goes up, the others go down, and there's oftentimes a pairing that occurs. So anyways, just some fun stuff to think about. A lot of good, a lot of nuggets in there. I hope that you learned something here today. Thank you again, Zach, for requesting that I cover this, and I deeply appreciate you and everyone else in the community. You guys are all fantastic. If you're not currently a community member, what are you doing with your life? Literally, I mean, it's like one of the best crypto trading experiences you could have. I'm not just saying that because I created it. Obviously, I'm a bit partial, but most everyone in there is learning and growing off of each other, and we're all collaborating, and it's just a very dynamic environment. And in fact, why don't I just go ahead and share with you some of these stats here, so you can kind of see roughly what some people are doing. So, for example, we get a lot of little shorts here, but that's a nice little 40x there from Compos. We've got Sack again, the gentleman that requested I cover this. he's doing some pretty good things with XRP, and the list kind of goes on. I mean, take a look at this here. What is it? Leros again, 93%, 15x. A lot of these trades are just very, I wouldn't say easy, but once you get an eye for it and you have good risk tolerance, it just makes everything so much better. Okay, and again, those are little things that you kind of learn and grow with, and totally worth it. So I highly recommend you check that out if you haven't already, and just consider becoming a community member. We interact daily, and I'd love to get to know you better. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you all in the next one. Take care.